Sidney.
No!
Poor Billy boyfriend. An innocent guy doesn't stand a chance with you.
Leave me alone!
Looks like you fingered the wrong guy. Again.
Who are you?
Don't worry. You'll find out soon enough. I promise.
This horror favourite encapsulates 90s horror better than any other imitation or copycat, and this extends to the I Know What You Did Last Summer series, Urban Legends, and other various 90s meta/slasher movies. Coop, do you remember when you first watched a Scream film?
I do. I think I was about 13 years old at the time. It was pretty late by the time I'd actually seen the first one, because I'd actually seen Scary Movie numerous times before I'd actually seen Scream. So I was pretty familiar with the story and the idea, because that movie kind of closely follows that. So it was interesting to go in and be like, oh, hang on a minute, like I'm not meant to laugh, but then realizing, hang on, I kind of am meant to laugh. What is with this movie? I remember being a bit sort of like taken aback at the approach, because I hadn't really seen it in anything else with all the references and meta horror movie. I'd never experienced that before. So I quite liked it, because it sort of had both the suspense and violence of a horror movie, along with sort of a bit of tongue-in-cheek vibe to it.
Yeah, I think my first time I watched one would have been probably Scream 4. I'm not sure if I actually ever watched Scream before that, but I remember going to the movies and seeing Scream 4 back in the day, and it was pretty good. I liked that it's obviously like a slasher. And I guess you sort of, from the start, you're trying to work out, you've got sort of someone in your mind who could possibly be the killer. And then, but as the sort of story goes on, you know, if someone's not in a scene, then where are they? And then if they appear suddenly, then they disappear, then that sort of plays with your mind. But yeah, actually, I quite like the mystery side of it, and the killings are pretty brutal, especially in 4.
Greg's right, Cindy. I mean, what do you think, we're in a horror movie?
Yeah, you guys are right. I mean, if we were, they'd probably cast some dingbat like Jennifer Love Huge Tits to play me.
I remember actually watching Scream 2 first before the original Scream. I was very little when Scream was first released. I was 4 years old, so I don't remember seeing it at the movies. Obviously, it would have been allowed in. But I remember my sister and I, we would always ask for our mum to rent it from Video Easy. You know, we've seen it at least 50 times growing up. It was always a toss-up between Scream 2 and Scary Movie. It sounds so stupid, but we used to take all these VHS tapes, put them into a pillowcase, shuffle it around, and then we'd pick out the video, and that would be what we watched. I had a huge crush on Neve Campbell growing up. I don't know what it is about Neve Campbell. I just think she's amazing. Every movie she's in, she's always the center of attention. Can't take my eyes off her. At the same time, I didn't actually know who Rose McGowan was, like when I watched the first Scream, but I remember thinking, oh, she's really pretty, you know, always like kind of liked those type of girls as well in horror movies. But yeah, interesting how times change.
Move, I'm gay.
So
I had a crush in Scream as well. I'm quite a big Drew Barrymore fan as well. So
yeah,
it was a little disappointing, like watching that movie and then going, hang on, this is like the opening scene. I've seen Scary Movie. Okay, Drew Barrymore isn't going to be in this movie very long, is she?
I can't watch any of the Scream movies seriously after the whole Scary Movie thing. I always think of Ghostface like falling over and being like, oh, I've got to stop drinking, or, you know, who's the reveal going to be? But with the first Scream, so this was released in 1996 by Wes Craven, initially titled Scary Movie. So it's interesting that Scary Movie became the parody 4 years later.
Oh, so what movie is this from? Die, cheerleader, die! Wanna play psycho killer? Can I be the helpless cheerleader? Oh, so is this where I'm supposed to beg for my life? Please, Mr. Killer, don't kill me.
Of course, directed by Keenan Ivory Wayans, also produced by the Wayans brothers. But back to Scream. This featured Neve Campbell, who was just starting to be an up-and-comer. She had starred in movies like The Craft. She was in the Party of Five TV series.
Mr. Griffin, are you okay?
I'm sorry. I still haven't gotten over the loss of Party of Five. It's going to take some time to get over it. Now, what were you saying?
You're not entitled to a refund. Was that for Party of Five, too?
No, that was for my refund. What the hell's Party of Five?
This wasn't Wes Craven's first attempt at meta horror. Previously, he had a new installment of the Nightmare on Elm Street series with New Nightmare that had been released 2 or 3 years prior. And First of all, if you haven't seen New Nightmare, please go and watch it. It's actually my favorite out of all the Nightmare movies. So well done. It's a nice little self-referential nod to not only the original Nightmare on Elm Street films, but also horror itself. Like, how does this impact actors after they finish a role? You know, you get the original actress, Heather Langenkamp, who comes back, and it's just such a clever take. I really enjoyed it. So I was pleasantly surprised going back and rewatching Scream, just how much more Wes Craven did build on his initial ideas. I will say, I think my favorite part of the movie is anything to do with the Tatum character. I love Rose McGowan, of course, but even when Ghostface is clearly about to kill her, she's like,
No, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel. Cut, Casper. That's a wrap.
like she's trying to fuck
Still,
with
those zingers and one-liners, so good.
All I think of with that scene is Scary Movie as well.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Can I be the helpless cheerleader?
Yeah.
Oh no, now I'm a gross severed head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, There's just so many genius parts with Scary Movie. Scream aside as well, I think Tatum was, I hate using the term female. I sound like an incel when I say it, but like strong women characters, there's always been the final girl. There's always been an element where there have been strong female characters, but Scream, I felt, did turn that on its head. So while we still get the typical clearly virginal character, you've got the clear badass, which is represented by Tatum, I felt she turned around by being like the horror fan. She was like the Wikipedia of horror movies back then.
One of my favorite parts of this movie is, and I'd like to add that Henry Winkler as Principal Himbry, I think it is, fantastic. But the scene where he's in his office and he's just expelled a couple of students for wearing ghost face masks, and he puts the mask on, he's screwing around in the mirror and everything. There keeps being these knocks on the door, and he looks outside, and in the hallway, Wes Craven, dressed as Freddy Krueger, just as a janitor, like he's just wearing like a green and red sweater and also wearing a hat.
What are you wearing, Karen?
Bra, knickers, shoes, and a hat. And I wish you were here to see it, Steve. Dave.
Yeah? Why's that?
Because if you were here, I'd snog you.
Is sweeping the floor, and he goes, "What?" It's like, "Oh, sorry, Freddy," or "Sorry, Fred." It's just, the ultimate meta moment in that movie. It's fantastic.
I really liked the opening scene of the movie with Drew Barrymore. All I kept thinking was when she was running up the stairs, and I think she throws the pot plant at him and then throws like the side table that like waiting for like the piano, then the old grandma from Scary Movie. That's what I thought.
Hi, baby. Oh.
But there's a scene in that after I think the boyfriend gets cut outside where she's running out the back patio to the front, and you hear the parents coming home and they're walking up to the front door, and that's where she gets, does she get gashed at that point? I think she gets stabbed in the back. And it's quite like good acting at that point, because she can see she's trying to yell out mom, and she's sort of whispering at that point. And it's just that helplessness because she can't do anything, can't get their attention. I actually really got into that moment. I thought it was really well. For the first movie, it sort of got you really into the scene, and it was just sort of you're rooting for Drew Barrymore, for her parents to find her alive, and dies.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that with the if you look at all the trailers and stuff, Drew Barrymore is featured heavily in them as if she's going to be in the movie a lot longer than that. And that probably absolutely helped with that shock value, and people going in I'm going to see a Drew Barrymore movie. No, you're not. She did.
Yeah.
I can't remember, for instance, what happens in the second half. Not second half, the second third of the movie. All I remember is Drew Barrymore, introduction to the high school, and then I remember Stu Marker's house, and that's it. Anything in between, I just, can't really remember.
I tend to have different thoughts. I feel like this definitely was a strong entry, and I found particularly 2 and 3 went into areas maybe perhaps that I got a bit bored in bits with it, but I think this is a good entry for it. I do agree that I think it's the party scene that there's just bits in that, there's elements in that gets a bit tiresome, because it goes for about 30-40 minutes, that whole bit.
I'd definitely disagree with that. That party scene's iconic, particularly with and as stupid as the characters are, particularly when they're in the news van and they realize that they've got the delay, but they're still watching it like, oh my God, oh, move kid. It's like, just turn around. Just, just, and again, it's another case of the whole meta thing of like, turn around. He's on the TV saying, turn around. It's amazing. But yeah, as a result, some of the characters come off a little bit stupid and dim-witted in those situations. And again, it's hard to know if that's deliberate because, it's Wes Craven and the whole idea of Scream is to kind of send up horror movies while also being one.
I love Gail as a character. I think she's really funny, but I love the dynamic she has with her cameraman in it because she's such like a boss bitch. And just like, get the camera and film me. Like, and I keep thinking of Scary Movie when it's like,
listen up, okay? This little piggy went to the market, all right? This little piggy stayed home. Now, this little piggy doesn't roll the goddamn camera. I'm gonna put my foot up his fucking ass. Gail Hailstorm standing out front of the police station where I'm going to try and get a glimpse of Cindy Campbell, the young girl who was attacked earlier this evening. You're on my foot, fat shit!
I just love that dynamic because she's so, like, it's good. She knows what she wants, and she reminds me a bit like Fran Drescher in terms of like the nanny, in terms of the costumes, because it's always something like bright. It's always sort of like a pantsuit. It's always like red, blue, something colourful.
It's interesting with Courtney Cox's character. When I think of Courtney Cox, I don't necessarily think of Scream. I think of either Friends or Cougar Town, or she's actually in a new series called Shining Vale, which is not that funny. It's like a horror comedy, but it's like, that was funny, but all I did was just like breathe out of my nose. Like, it's one of those things where I think the approach to the Gail character is pretty much spot on perfect. You do want more from her, but they're not going to feature her in every single frame. They're not going to make her as exaggerated and as stupid as she could have been in like a sequel where it's usually the bigger the better. She goes through changes in each film. I also can't think of Gail Weathers without thinking of Scary Movie, especially how like they always play around with her name. Like one of the cops calls her Gail Thunderstorm, and she's always just been like, Kenny, get the camera ready. Here, hold my gum. She spits the gum out at the cameraman.
There's a scene in the actual Scream movie where I think it's the press conference at the school, and it's where obviously like the press are there and she gets there late, so she's sort of going through the crowd and she gets to the front and she asks the question. And I was waiting for her because I think it's in actual Scary Movie where someone's holding a pen next to her and she grabs the pen and chucks it to get the police's attention to ask the question. And I was waiting for that to pop up in Scream and realize, that's actually in Scary Movie. But they're so good actors that I like. She's sort of just boss bitch, gets what she wants. She gets to the front. Yeah. Good.
Yeah. I had completely forgotten about this issue with Sidney Prescott's mother, like thrown around as like the town hall, town bike or whatever. And that was apparently some of the motive for Billy Loomis, who reveals at the end, yes, he's one of the killers. Stu Marker is also his accomplice. But Stu doesn't necessarily have a motive. He never states, it's because of the scary movies. He just says, like, what's even scarier is having no motive. So he's clearly just a crazy person.
Okay. Really? Why'd the cops let him go, smart guy?
This ties into the third Scream as well. So I don't know if anyone else knows I only found this out a few days ago too. The third movie initially was supposed to be about Stu Marker returning from the dead, or like he had survived the first installment, but you don't see that in the second. But it was supposed to be a thing where Sidney comes back to, I was going to say Riverdale, Sidney comes back to Woodsboro and she realizes she's at Stu Marker's house, and it's emerged Stu Marker has this cult of Ghostface killers and they're there to kill Sidney as well. I don't know how the rest of the movie would have gone. Sometimes I'm glad some of the writers do get told no, because some of their ideas, as great as they are, if I had seen that in a Scream 3,
my God.
Never again.
It sounds like they're sort of creating answers for questions that no one sort of ever asked or wanted to ask in this first place. Like, it's just complicating the story more than it needed to be. So I'm glad that got shut down. That just, you saying that just very complicated my mind.
I did not like the sound of that at all. That sounded ridiculous. That sounded like fan fiction.
Are you telling me that I'm caught in the middle of fan fucking fiction?
Don't like that.
No, it just detracts from the actual sort of the essence of the movie itself.
Yeah.
I remember watching the movie and thinking it was the news reporter. That's all I knew her character is at the time. I remember thinking it has to be her. She's killed these people because she wants a good news story. That to me was the logic. And being a kid, I remember thinking, no, it can't be the boyfriend because he was there when the killer was there. Like, I didn't connect the dots so soon. But to be fair, I've suspected Gail in every single iteration of Scream except for the new one that came out. I've always thought this is where she snaps and she's going to reveal herself as the killer.
Okay.
Yeah. But I do want to say Matthew Lillard, who plays Chewbacca, doesn't get enough credit overall for his acting work. So like him in Scream versus him as Shaggy in Scooby-Doo versus him in She's All That, where he's like this big Hollywood star. He really knows how to play a character. I really believe that he is that crazy in real life because of how good his acting is.
Yeah.
Likewise, I could easily see him being a massive stoner like Shaggy.
Yep. Yeah.
Matthew Lillard, if you ever listen to this, we just want to say we love you.
I love you, bitch. Oh my God. I ain't gonna never stop loving you, bitch.
Do we think the original Scream still holds up today?
I think it does.
I mean, I still enjoy it. Every time I go back and watch that movie, I enjoy it. It's one of my favorite movies. Yeah, so I think I'd be a little biased in that regard. It's been spoofed to death, but I don't know how it would go if someone had never seen it. I'd be interested to have their take on it. I'll have to find this person, whoever they are, and get them to watch Scream. But it would be interesting to see how people take it. Too biased to comment. Love it.
I think it still holds up. And I think the good thing about it is I like that it's obviously pre-social media and pre-really internet. So each situation is sort of, just a home phone and, you can't just text someone or go online and seek help. Like, I think it sets the mood, especially in the opening scene with Drew Barrymore.
Hello?
Why don't you want to talk to me?
Who is this?
You tell me your name, I'll tell you mine.
I don't think so.
What's that noise?
Popcorn.
You making popcorn?
Uh-huh.
I only eat popcorn at the movies.
Well, I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Oh, just some scary movie.
That opening scene is one that lives rent-free in my mind. And for me, it's one of the key ingredients that makes Scream a 90s cult classic. But I can't just, unfairly relegate it to the 90s. I think it's still a cult classic and will be for the next 20, 30 years.
Oh, I'll look for it. I'll send you a copy.
Jeez. Nice shot.
Bitch.
No, I mean, camera shot. Where'd you learn to punch like that?
God, I loved it. I'll send you a copy. Bam! Bitch went down.
Thanks, BP and Coop, for joining me today. Listeners, in our next episode, we discuss Scream 2, the sequel that was rushed into production to capitalize on the success of the original. We will also discuss Scream 3, 4, and the 2022 requel, including some news on the upcoming 6th installment, due for release in March 2023.